You guys just you keep coming around. I just keep hearing about you guys.
You guys got some fantastic golf, so I'm gonna have to get a round or two in out there.
I love the game. I had a passion to play the game, not only football, but I love the game of golf and what it lends to a person.
Let's take this thing to the moon, make the drop well known, better than it's ever been before.
Marion is a place where I just love that golf course.
So listen, I'm a big New Jersey golf guy. You're very kind, Mike. It's a pleasure to be on just a couple of Jersey boys here talking about something we love. All the best. I really enjoyed it.
The bracket is live. The field of 64 is set. 4 courses just earned their way in. And now everybody who had something to say about public golf in the state of New Jersey gets to prove it. Because once your bracket is filled out, there's nowhere to hide. This episode is presented by All County Exteriors. If you're a homeowner or builder in New Jersey, there's one name you need to know. For exterior and interior modeling, it's All County Exteriors. And with over 40 years of experience as a third-generation, family-owned company, you're getting more than just a contractor. You're getting a team that stands behind their work. They're offering an instant 20% off a limited time. Email info@allcountyonline.com to schedule your free consultation. All County Exteriors. Quality you can trust from people who care. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro. Welcome back, Drop Pod people. Pro, how we doing this week?
Doing fantastic, man. March Madness is in full effect. Like you said, 4 teams earned their spot into the bracket. Can't wait to digest it, talk about it. Looking forward to it, my man.
Here we go. So listen, quick recap. Last week, listen, if you didn't listen to last Thursday's episode with Lurch, it was an absolute banger in terms of a number perspective. But I said it at the top when I had that recorded it. I don't think I laughed harder. And the amount of people that actually DM me or commented on it like, wow, you weren't joking. If you didn't listen to that, you got to go back and listen to him. I call him Bigfoot for a lot of reasons. We saw him. We never saw him. He's back. Go take a listen. Yesterday, the second newsletter came out as well. And if you're still looking to subscribe to that, hit me with a DM. I'll send you the link. You can get subscribing to that as well. The qualifying round was a hit. Pro, we're firing on all cylinders every which way. And the voting was active. The comments, again, about the qualifying round, these courses stink. These courses are great. How are they not in? Listen. At the end of the day, it's not easy when you're putting a final field of 64 together and you got over 150 public golf courses that we talked about last week. But now it's official. The field of 64 is locked, and this is where the fun begins. I don't know where to start here, Pro, but I think it's important that we explain kind of the idea about what we got going on, because we said that starting in 2026, this year is going to be bigger, it's going to be better, and it's going to be bolder in a lot of ways. And this is just another reflection of those early comments you and I made back in early January. So this is how this whole bracket is going to go. And I think this is really important so that everybody understands. You saw the bracket that came out on Sunday. The field of 64 is locked and loaded. You can go make your picks. And people were asking me, well, what does that entail? What does that mean? You get to fill out your own bracket exactly like March Madness. The difference is this is the Golfing in the Garden State edition, the race for the crown. You get to pick every matchup. You track your picks against everybody else's. And when this thing is all over, the best bracket, the winning bracket, will receive a Drop Pod hat and a Dunning polo of their choosing, all for free. Doesn't cost to sign up, doesn't cost to play, doesn't cost anything. All you got to do is make sure your bracket is set, it's submitted before voting goes live tomorrow. So once round 1 starts, the talking has to stop. You either saw the board well or you didn't. And just as another reminder, you got to make sure that if you want to say in who moves on, pending the course you picked, you've got to follow us at the drop _ on Instagram. You got to make sure that you get your vote said, heard, along with you can see how that voting goes. Pro, let's talk about the qualifying round first, because I think you and I made some bold predictions last week. And unfortunately, I don't know how many were accurate. I have not gone back and looked, but none of the Monmouth County courses came through, and we both thought kind of highly of both of them.
Yeah, I guess Monmouth County is still sleepy. It's not the summer, man. Not everybody's down here. Not everybody's rocking and rolling yet. You know, the boardwalks aren't open, the rides aren't open, and obviously everybody was sleeping on the boat. So a surprise that Shark River, a surprise that Pebble Creek didn't make it into the bracket. You know, I think I went 1 for 4. I mean, Farmstead did get into the bracket, so that's exciting that, you know, of course, that I did play and talked about last week did find its way into the bracket. But yeah, a little disappointed on Monmouth County. We're going to see how it shapes out during the actual bracket because there's a lot of Monmouth County in there. So looking forward to it. But man, this is incredible stuff. This is exciting stuff. The field of 64, you know, so many great matchups. Like Mike said, you just got to get out there. You got to fill out your bracket. You got to be in it to win it. So take the time, fill out the bracket. And then when the voting starts tomorrow, it is locked and loaded, and we are going to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, it's the best thing. We all like to fill out the brackets. We all feel like we know everything. We're going to ESPN for the inside info. We're listening to that. Well, listen, we got the same thing, except it's March Madness, the golfing and the Garden State edition. I do want to bring up one thing, Pro, and I got to pull it here up on my phone because I think we also did pick Vineyard National out of the top quadrant, and they did move on. So I do want to give us a little bit of a credit. We didn't go 25%. We did get 50% right. But I do want to say Vineyard National got through, Farmstead got through, Flanders Valley got through, and McCullough's got through. But the one interesting thing out of the qualifying round is we've had a lot of close matchups on the podcast in this type of scenario where teams have won by 1%, they won by 2%, they won by 30 votes. And some people may say 30 votes is a lot, but when you're accumulating 600 votes to, you know, it's kind of, it gets really, really tight at the end of the day. But we've never had this, never, where I was checking all the things on Saturday morning, because the votes had gone out Friday for that final round. I take that back. I need to rewind that a little bit because actually it was Thursday morning because it was the first round matchup between Bowling Green and Ramblewood. And both of them I had mentioned have a decent following in terms of their social media. Well, shout out to Joe McMahon. Okay. I've talked to Joe a few times through DMs as well. He cast the last possible vote at the last possible second to give Ramblewood the win, 156 votes to 155. Never once in this entire thing has the thing been decided by one vote, because when I checked it, it said it was 50-50 in terms of a percentage. And I was like, well, we can't have a tie. Hopefully it's like, you know, a couple, legitimately one single vote. That makes a difference around here in March Madness, bro.
No doubt. You know, we hear it all the time in the political elections. Your vote matters. So if that isn't evidence that your vote matters, so you might be sitting there thinking, it doesn't really matter if I cast that vote. Mike just talked about it. Literally one vote was the difference. So if you are a fan favorite of one of these facilities, make sure you take the time, cast your vote. It could go a long way, and it could be the difference.
Yes, it was kind of crazy. I felt like I had to bring that up because I have never seen that, and kind of just out of this world. But let's kind of get into the field of 64 here, because I think at times people kind of wonder, like, where'd you come up with this? Is this your list? Did you do this? And this field was built from real input from people throughout the state of New Jersey. This is not a Mike Poro list. It's not a Chris Dimmick list. It's not a Drop podcast list. These had real opinions from people across New Jersey. I'm talking superintendents, general managers, serious amateurs in the state that play legit golf. We got followers, listeners, past guests, and people who spend real time around these properties. So I had to look at everything. I couldn't make it this about me. Couldn't make it about you. It's about us. That's just this entire thing. So I took player feedback. I took price and value, conditions, reputation, data from all different websites. And then at the end of the day, the panel of experts made the hard calls if there were close matchups in terms of who went where. 1 through 64, there was no ties. There was no freebies because you had a bigger name than the other person. We legitimately went through every single course and let people argue why certain courses should go where. So if a course landed at number 12, they were the 12 seed. That's it. So from there, we took a true snake format across all 4 regions. We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5 went back with 4. Then 6, then 7, all the way through the entire thing. So yes, the top seeds earned what they earned. But I think at the end of the day, this is going to be one of the best things we've ever done. And I truly believe it's going to be one of the most talked about things when it comes to golfing in the Garden State, because what better time, Pro, for us to kick this off right before the season starts April 1st, because everybody's going to be wanting to know, where should I go? What should I play? Where's going to be the first spot I get to go to? And with you and I constantly talking about these top 64 golf courses here in New Jersey that anybody has access to, what better time to get this thing kicked off?
Yeah, it's totally going to get the excitement level for the game of golf in general, but it's going to get the excitement level for these facilities. You know, if it's a facility that, you know, pulls off an upset or makes it to the Sweet 16 or makes it to the Elite 8, you're going to have people that are going to be like, man, I got to get out there and I got to go play that facility. So, you know, looking forward to seeing the results, looking forward to talking about it, speaking some facilities up, talking about some upsets, you know, why it happened, why it didn't happen. But, you know, this is going to be great for all these facilities that are included in the bracket of 64, but it's going to be great for the general golfing public because they're going to get a little bit more knowledge about all these facilities, and they're going to get out there and dust off the sticks and tee it up.
Winter is here, but there's no golf facility still as busy as Galloping Hill Golf Course in Union County, New Jersey. The courses are open all winter. At the Hill Tavern, kids eat for free all winter. The clubhouse at Galloping Hill is a hub for social events. From stunning weddings to lively corporate events, the clubhouse is a dynamic venue that can host any type of event you can imagine. But the real star of the winter is the Swing Suite at Galloping Hill. You can book your hour just to focus on improving your game, or book longer sessions for an unforgettable time with your friends while you watch the game. Enjoy the bar-style food and drinks while playing some of the most famous courses in the world on the simulator. It's a perfect blend of sport and socializing where even non-golfers can have a blast. Head to learningcenterghgc.com to book your slots now. If you'd like to reserve the space for a group outing, please contact Greg Ward at 908-241-8700, extension 308. It's all happening this winter at Galloping Hill Golf Course. Let's go. So here we go. We're going, obviously, I know the audience got to see all this on Sunday. They got to see it all on Monday. They got to see it all Tuesday. But you and I are going to look at this right now, and we're going to kind of dissect this, and we're going to go region by region, discussing what we think could be potential matchups here. So I'm going to start in the north here. All right. Probably it's on the screen, I think, correctly. I think I did this accurately this week. So you get to see 1 through 16 here. Quick look, what stands out to you?
Yeah, you know, so when I look at it, you got Francis Byrne as the number 1 seed. So, you know, you've talked about it big time, how much of a fan of that golf course you are. So, you know, that's a powerhouse sitting there as the number 1 seed. So find it hard to believe that it's not going to work its way through the bracket. I'm not saying it's going to definitely be the team that comes out of the North region, but, you know, a really good, strong number 1 seed there. You know, you look down at that 5-12 matchup, you know, Charleston Springs, the South Course, great golf course here in Monmouth County. Let's wake up a little bit, people. Wake up, cast your votes. You know, definitely a course that could do a little damage. You know, a really tough matchup there in Flanders Valley right out of the gate. Then I worked down a little bit more, and Galloping Hill, you know, the home of New Jersey golf. You know, New Jersey Golf Association headquarters are right there at Galloping Hill. It's a venue that has hosted a state open. It hosts, you know, PJ Tour qualifying school, you know, just a fantastic facility. So Galloping Hill there as the number 6 seed is definitely dangerous. And then, a sleeper, although the seed's not really a sleeper, but a lot of people would think if it goes chalk, all the number 1 seeds are going to come out. But I would look at Twisted Dunes there as the number 3 seed. Once again, not a huge upset if it would come out of the region, but Twisted Dunes is such a fantastic facility down in South Jersey. It's got so much great character of a golf course. So definitely some highlights there. And then the last one I would talk about as a really true possible upset in round number 1 is Skyview Golf Club there as the 15 possibly overtaken Seaview on the Bay course. So that's a little highlight that I would have for the North region. Certainly look forward to hearing about your opinions on it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, and it's hard because as I was going through what the panel and I were deciding about what courses go where, I was like, this bracket's loaded. This is the best one. And then I was going to this region. Nope, this region's loaded. And every single one is just so good with the matchups. They really are. And it really kind of like weirdly excites me because I'm like, I look at this matchup of a Galloping Hill winning against Paramus and then Twisted Dune beating Princeton. And that matchup in the second round is a Goliath of a matchup because I know what the followings are on social media. I know how many people have DM'd me or commented about those 2 specific golf courses. And I think if those 2 were anywhere else, I could see those 2 legitimately kind of maybe making the Final 4. Like I can so see that. And the fact that those 2 are going to play in the second round, like that's an example where people could say, I could have moved things because I know what the numbers are, but I was like, listen, here's how it played out. So to me, like that second round matchup could be an unbelievable amount of votes being casted just in that matchup alone. But yeah, I think that is one of the most intriguing things when I look at the North region. But if you had to pick a winner out of the region here, now I'm not going to say I'm going to hold you to this when you make your own bracket, but as your first quick look here before you actually put the names on the dotted line, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go with definitely, if we were talking like ESPN men's March Madness bracket and we had a higher seed come out of it, it would totally be a Cinderella story. You just talked about it. I talked about it. So I don't think it would be a monstrous Cinderella story, but from a seeding perspective, it would be. I'm going to go with Galloping Hill as the number 6 seed coming out of the North region. I think the golf course deserves it. I think the fan base is going to vote for it. Like I said, the home of New Jersey golf. And I look for Galloping Hill to make a monumental upset when it comes to seeding purposes and coming out of the North region.
Wow, that's a bold statement there, Pro. That's a bold statement. I'll tell you, I'll say this. I can't go against Francis Byrne. I know they're the number 1 seed, and I know people may say you're a homer. It's all you care about is Francis Byrne, blah, 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 blah. Yes, okay, I get it, but I'm just telling you this. I just can't imagine them losing the North region. I just can't. I think from every little perspective that you talk about, I just find it hard to believe. So, all right, you're going to go with Galloping Hill. I won't hold you to that, but I'll tell you this. My name on the sheet will be Francis Byrne that wins the North region. So as we kind of pivot here to the East region, you go up and down this list and you see the names, and no, they're not just put in regions based upon where they're actually located. I just legitimately put them in wherever they ended up. So quick take, looking at the East region, what do you say?
Yeah, so Shoregate up there is the number 1 seed, another golf course that deserves a number 1 seed. There's no question. But if there was probably a golf course that deserved the number 1 seed and didn't get a number 1 seed, we're going to look at the number 2 seed here in the East region. Hominy Hill Golf Course sitting there as the number 2 seed. Definitely a championship level golf course. So that's the first take that I got on the East region. Now, when I talk about some other great golf courses that are in this region, I have to look at the 12 seed Vineyard National. We just talked about it. It worked its way into the bracket. So there was obviously a lot of voting happening for it. So that could be a small little sleeper here in that bracket. Two other golf courses that I do want to talk about. I want to talk about Eagle Ridge Golf Club down here in Ocean County, not Monmouth, but just south of us here. Eagle Ridge was a 27-hole facility, now an 18-hole facility, but man, those 18 holes there at Eagle Ridge are still fantastic, and it's a great golf course. And then on a personal level, I am a fan of Nob Hill. I don't think it gets talked about too often. It's got a couple quirky short little holes, but it's got a lot of great golf holes at Nob Hill. So, that would be a highlight there. I see the 7 seed Nob Hill. We always know in March Madness, the 7 seeds are a dangerous seed, man, and they could find their way. So Eagle Ridge and Nob Hill at the 6 and 7, I think, are very dangerous, but a lot of great golf courses there. Shoregate obviously taking the cake as the 1 seed, but like I talked about, Hominy Hill at that number 2, in my opinion, is like a 1B seed. It's not a 2 seed.
Well, it's funny you say that because as I'm pulling up the overall rankings 1 through 64 about where this was, Shoregate ended up in the number 4 spot. Okay. And then Hominy Hill was the number 5, which is why they are in the same bracket. So yes, to your point, it is kind of 1A and 1B, or the overall rankings being 4 and 5. So to your point, you're pretty spot on there. I would also say this about this side of the bracket. I think the North was I don't want to say bigger names, better courses, better selection, but I think from a follower standpoint, an active media outlet standpoint, the North was bigger than the East in terms of the activeness on social media. I do think the one golf course that a lot of people may sleep on, and listen, I think people know how much I love Shoregate. I think they do that. When we went there, I claim it's a top 3 public golf course in the state of New Jersey from what I played in 2025. But I will say this, Highbridge Hills is one of those golf courses that I don't know. They don't have the biggest following on Instagram. They're not the most active on Instagram, but there must be a slew of people that just truly love Highbridge Hills, because the amount of things I've heard about Highbridge Hills is crazy. It's going to have to be a spot I eventually get up and see because of what people say to me about it. So I can't say I would be surprised if Highbridge Hills gets through Mercer Oaks, the East course, and then upsets Shoregate, moving on to the Elite 8, or the Sweet 16. No, the Elite 8. I was right. I couldn't wait. Did I say that right now? Sweet 16. Yeah, 6. Man, butchering that over here. Wouldn't be surprised if Highbridge Hills gets to the Sweet 16. I wouldn't. I just think that that's a sneaky golf course that not a lot of people may know, but for whatever reason, it's inundated my DM. So I'm gonna keep an eye out on that golf course. But like you did on the north side, Pro, when you look at the East, who do you got moving on in this bracket?
Yeah, so I definitely had a 6 seed coming out of the previous region. I'm not going to go that high here on it. I spoke highly there of Hominy Hill. So, for me personally, I'm going to go with the number 2 seed in this bracket. A little bit more chalk for me in this bracket. And in my opinion, if you told me Hominy Hill was rated as the number 1 overall seed, I would believe it. So them sitting there as a number 2 seed in this region, I think they're going to be the one that comes out on top. I'm going to hope that Monmouth County wakes up, cast those votes. People are dreaming of the rides on the boardwalk, the funnel cake, the ice cream, and they can wake up a little bit from those dreams and they can cast their votes. And I'm going to go with Hominy Hill coming out of the East region.
Well, I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder and jump on that 6 seed bandwagon. I think Eagle Ridge is the golf course that gets out of the East. I do. I know that it's gone from 27 to 18. I get all that, but it's still, to your earlier points, is a high quality golf course. And I know Ocean County doesn't have a lot to hold its hat on in terms of golf courses that are public, nonetheless, golf courses in general. But I think Eagle Ridge still has that aura about it that it's just a really, really fun golf course. And I know they're active on social media. I know people like that golf course a lot. So I'm going to say that Eagle Ridge gets out of the East region on my side of the bracket. Now, as we kind of pivot a little bit here out west, things get rather interesting in my eyes when I saw this bracket unfold, because I thought, and I'll wait till we see the South as well, but I think this may be the best bracket 1 through 16. It's not only very good in terms of the golf courses, it's very highly recognized names. We're talking Balliol. People argue that it's the best golf course on the public side in New Jersey. You got Rock Spring, another unbelievable golf course here in New Jersey. And then the one sleeper, and I don't even know if it's so much of a sleeper, but Architects is always a golf club that people just don't stop talking about. I just think this side of the bracket is absolutely loaded in a name recognition aspect. What do you see, Pro?
Yeah, Ballyowen, obviously a fantastic facility, very, very strong number 1 seed there. Rock Spring, we've talked about it in detail. What incredible architecture. So coming in there as a strong number 2 seed. But, a couple matchups, and then to talk about a couple facilities that I think could be a sleeper. That 8-9 matchup, Howell Park, Monmouth County course here, going up against Cape May National, a very South Jersey facility. Really cool matchup there. I like it a lot. Farmstead Golf and Country Club had made its way through to play-in matches. Obviously, there was some support for that, so I could see something happen there. Listen, we talked about some seeds that should be a little bit higher. There's a golf course sitting there as the number 13 Soldier Hill golf course. I played there last year. I don't even know how it's in this bracket, in all honesty. So I'm going to talk a little on the negative side there about Soldier Hill. Just wasn't a conditioned golf course that I think anybody should really be out there playing on a personal level. Not to give too much negative there to Soldier Hill. But obviously, Architects, really, really cool. I talked about it when we discussed Architects. I played in a junior event there many, many years ago, and I could think about feeling that, about that 13th hole at Augusta, that par 3, that's that total risk reward. So some really, really cool matchups there in the West region. But, personally, I just, if I had to give the cake to somebody to come out of that region, I'm going to personally look at an upset coming out of that region, and I am going to go with Howell Park making a bold
Oh my
prediction.
God.
And the reason why I'm going to say that, okay?
You have too much faith in your Monmouth County folk after what they just did in the playing round. They didn't show up. They had 2 opportunities to get through. They didn't show up. And now you're telling me you're going with the second Monmouth County Park System golf course to make it through the bracket?
I am. And listen, everybody's going to call me a homer, and everybody's going to sit there and be like, he doesn't know anything about the rest of the state. He doesn't know anything about North Jersey. He doesn't know anything about deep South Jersey. He only knows everything about Monmouth County. But on a personal level, besides the Winter League, I have not played much public golf in New Jersey, and everybody knows that already. But I have played Howell Park, and I have been out there multiple times with my father-in-law, where we go out and carry our own bags and we walk some holes. And I just think it's a really, really good golf course, and I think it's very underrated. Now, it's going to go up against Ballyowen in the second round, and that is a monster matchup. But everybody knows it. It happens every year. 1 seeds get upset, all right? And it's going to happen, and why not happen right here? So that's my take. Is it going to come true? Possibly not, but that's my take.
Yeah, that is an unbelievable hot take. It may be one of the hottest ones we've ever had on the Drop Podcast, to make a statement that Howell Park is going to upset Ballyowen, a former champion of March Madness right here in golfing in the Garden State, a previous winner. Wow, that would be incredible. I think that would send shockwaves through my DMs. I don't know if I could get through every one. People may think that the bots were all over that in Monmouth County, the same people that take all the tea times that I hear about what goes on in Monmouth County. But I think there's one golf course in this West region that I think is sneaky, and I'm going to give that to Old Bridge Golf Club. I think a lot of people talk about it, maybe because it's on the newer side. It's Stephen K designed. It's a nice spot. And I don't know if many people have gotten to it yet, but it's in this little circle of always being mentioned here or there. Ryan does an absolutely phenomenal job over there. Great people, phenomenal logo for guys like you that just love the logo game. I could see Old Bridge making a little bit of a run here, but ultimately for me, again, it may be a chalk answer. I just don't know how people don't see Ballyowen winning the West region. It is an absolutely, it is like just a big number one seed in terms of name recognition. You know, people have said that Ballyowen is like Duke basketball. Like that's kind of how this operation goes. And we're trying to figure out like the best public golf course here in New Jersey with the voters having the ultimate say. You kind of make comparisons. Not everybody wants to always like the number one seed. And that's kind of the same comparison to Duke at times. People don't want to love Duke, but they're always around. And it's the same thing with Ballyowen. So for me, like I got to think that Ballyowen just dominates more or less the West. But do keep an eye out on Old Bridge. I do think that is the one sneaky golf course in the West that can make some movement.
Mike, quick question real quick. So when people cast their votes, is one, like if I get on my Instagram handle, can I only vote one time? Or if I pull it back up, can I cast again?
Nope, it's one and done. You get your one vote. It's not like you can't go in there and vote 95 times. Now, if you have 95 different Instagram handles, sure. If you want to tell your members over there at Madness Squad, hey, listen, you guys got to do me a solid. Go follow the Drop Podcast on Instagram. Go cast your vote for Howell Park. Make me look good. Listen, you could send that newsletter out. Go right for it. But just like in the real world, you get one vote. Okay, you get one vote unless you got multiple handles. That's the only catch here. So what are you're trying to rig the system already over there?
I was ready to, pull it back up like 300 times for Hal Park, man, so.
That's great. So as we kind of move here to the South, a lot of interesting names on this list. And I know people may say, how the hell is this golf course on there? Or what are you thinking? What type of panel do you have that's going to put this golf course in the field of 64, similar to your earlier comment on Soldier Hill? But listen, whether I agreed with it or didn't, that's what the panel decided. And when you're going through a list of all these people that know what they know, that's how it goes. This is not a dictatorship. It's not what Mike Puro wants, Mike Puro gets. This is all of us. We all kind of decided. So I think the South, more so than all the other regions, have a lot of like head scratching names as to how they got on the list. But Pro, what do you see when you look at the South region here?
Yeah. So Neshannock Valley, we've talked about it. Dominant number one seed there. Ballamore, a really good number two, but I think that might be the biggest gap between the 1 and 2 out of the 4 regions. Neshannock's just a really top level quality facility, great practice facility. You got Callaway headquarters up there, just really some top level stuff there. But a possible, very difficult opponent in the second round there at Rutgers University Golf Course. Obviously, Rutgers is the state university. It gets some flash with that name. So I could see a dangerous number 2 matchup there. I look at a true Southern matchup in Blue Heron Pines versus LBI National as a really cool one right there as well. And then on a little side note there, Harker's Hollow as the 14 seed, possibly a dangerous upset there. But personally, I think this one could be a little bit on the chalk side. You talked about it. You got some courses in there that people would scratch their heads about why they are in there. But with all that being said, a really good region, but I think it is very dominated by those number 1 and number 2 seeds. And I don't know if you're going to see too many upsets on this one. I'll obviously give you my pick right now on a personal level. I am going to go with Ballamore pulling off that upset. I think Neshannock and Ballamore will get to the Elite 8, but then I could see Ballamore pulling off that upset. Even though I did say that the gap between 1 and 2 here is probably the biggest, I just think you're going to see a lot of people talk about that South Jersey course in Ballamore and how great it is, and I could see that one come out on top in this region.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one there because again, I'm going to speak more from the social media side, is Nishanik is kind of hit or miss in terms of like sometimes they share, sometimes they don't. I know Ballamore is very good, so I could see that playing a very large role if those two were to play in the Elite Eight. Unfortunately for me, I have two different teams in the Elite Eight. I know that Nishanik is a very good golf course, and I know Ballamore is one of my favorites. People know that it's my top 5 public golf courses played in 2025. But I'm going to go on a different whim here, and I'm taking Heron Glen moving out of the top section here, and they're going to take on Berkshire Valley. And I think those two golf courses to me are two of the most untalked about public golf courses in New Jersey that are simply just so good. Heron Glen is just one of those places that when we played last April, I was like, man, this place is sneaky good. I see a lot of resemblance to Nishanik, except Nishanik gets all the love. And then Berkshire Valley. Listen, I'll say this. I was blown away with Berkshire Valley. I've never seen a golf course in my life have a par 3 as the number 1 rated golf hole on a golf course that I've ever been around. You may know more about that area than I do, but I never came across it. The hole was over 240 yards, par 3. You couldn't miss it left. It was all like the mountains and the rock on the left. You had like a fall off on the right. It was like, you better hit a high quality golf shot. I obviously didn't, made double bogey, but nonetheless, that golf course with the ups and downs, I think those two, and they're hit or miss, similar to Nishanik with sharing things, but I do think those two golf courses will meet in the Elite Eight. And unfortunately, to my favorite friends there at Berkshire Valley, I am going to take Heron Glen as the golf course that moves on there in the South. Man, what an entire 64 teams. Now, Pro, we saw all 64, and I'll see if I can do this accurately and stop sharing my screen. There we go. But I do think there's some things I want to throw at you. And I got a question here that I think is going to be very interesting because we just went through all 4 regions. We talked about different teams here or there, the seeds and whatnot, and where we think things may go. But I want you to give me your top 5 Cinderella courses you think that will make a run this March Madness.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. We just highlighted that bracket, 64 great golf courses. It's hard to pick 5, and listen, I feel strong that the 5 that I'm about to talk about, I already spoke about or you already spoke about. So I'm going to start with Galloping Hill as one of my 5 that could make a Cinderella run. I highlighted it. I highlighted it coming out of the region for me personally. So I'm going to look at Galloping Hill. I also did talk about Nob Hill, and I think Nob Hill would be my number 2 that could make a Cinderella run. I think it's a great golf course. Luke Cabisa over there running the show, dear friend of mine. So I think Nob Hill could certainly make a nice run. One that we didn't talk about that is, once again, a little Monmouth County bias, but I'm going to talk about Colts Neck Golf Club. All right. I can see Colts Neck Golf Club surprising some people. I'm not talking about a deep, deep run, but maybe pulling off a little bit of an upset in the early stages. I did talk about Rutgers Golf Course, so going to highlight that as well as my 4th one. I think Rutgers can really make a deep run with this. Hopefully we get a lot of students at Rutgers, casting some votes for Rutgers Golf Course. And then the last one that was one of my 5 Cinderellas, you just talked about it. Heron Glen Golf Course is one of my 5 Cinderellas. So Galloping Hill, Nob Hill, Colts Neck Golf Club, Rutgers Golf Course, and Heron Glen are my 5 Cinderellas in the 2026 Drop Podcast March Madness.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I love the fact that you agree with me on Heron Glen because I do think that is going to be a golf course that is highly voted for and highly talked about. So not too bad there, pal.
So I'm going to switch something on you here, Mike. You just asked me a question. I'm going to throw something out to you. I'm going to have you blind rank 5 courses. And these 5 courses are in the 64 bracket. And I'm going to spit them out to you in a way that obviously you're going to think about it and you're going to be like, oh, that has to be my number one. But you don't know what's to follow. All right. So I'm going to go 5 golf courses right here, and let's see what your list will dictate. Number 1, the first one I'm going to throw out, Blue Heron Pines.
Blue Heron Pines, great little golf course down there in South Jersey. Stephen Kay, is very involved in that little spot down there. I'm going to say there's going to have to be something better, but also something worse. I'm going to be very conservative here. I'm putting that at number 3.
It's a good pick. Good pick. I'm going to throw out the next one at Ballamore.
Wow, I love Ballamore. I simply love Ballamore. I don't know if, knowing what I know about public golf, I don't know if you're going to give me a better choice than Ballamore. I'm putting Ballamore at number 1.
Next course I'm going to toss out is Soldier Hill.
Well, listen, I'll say this. I know nothing about Bergen County golf courses. I don't. The panel was listen, the panel is what it is and has said what it said. And hearing what you just said, I'm going to have to say that there's not going to be a course that's outside Soldier Hill. So I'm just going to put Soldier Hill at number 5.
The 4th name I'm going to throw out is Harker's Hollow.
Yeah, see, I know nothing about Harker's Hollow, but that just kept coming up in conversation with a couple people. They kept saying, don't sleep on them. I know it's not the most active. It's a sneaky, fun golf course. They have a little bit of people that really like the spot. So I can't say I know much. I'm going to cross my fingers. You got something better for me at 2. I'm putting Harker's Hollow at 4.
All right, we got a good list. How you feeling so far? You feeling pretty good about it? I'm spitting one more out at you here.
I think you could throw basically probably 60% of golf courses that you throw out, I think ends up at number 2, even if I'm putting this list together. But if you throw something really outside the box at me, I'm going to be head scratching.
Yeah, I think you're going to feel good about it, but I think it's going to hurt a little bit. The last name I'm going to throw out to you is Francis Byrne.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I thought like, okay, knowing where Ballamore is, there's not many spots that I would put in front of that spot. Obviously, everybody knows my bias towards Francis Byrne. So putting it number 2, listen, okay. Listen, I will say this is 2 completely different golf courses, but a list of Ballamore, Francis Byrne, Blue Heron Pines, Harker's Hollow, and everybody seems to be favored Soldier Hill. Like, I think that's a pretty good order, not knowing what you were going to throw at me right there.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't have switched it up too much. If you could take it back, you probably switch 1 and 2 there a little bit. But I think the rest of the order is really rock solid. So well done. You didn't know what was coming. It got spitballed at you, and I think you did a great job with it.
Yeah, so listen, you heard Pro and I give our take about the entire field of 64. It's locked, it's loaded. You've seen it since Sunday. Voting is going on. People are submitting brackets left and right. And I do want to say this. You can submit multiple brackets. You don't have to have your sheet of integrity and just roll with that one. But the catch is you need to have multiple email addresses that when you submit it, it can't be the same one. So that is the one kind of catch with the entire thing. But you're going to start seeing things will lock tomorrow on Wednesday. You'll see the voting pop up on Instagram, and then you'll see weekly, leaderboards coming out about who's leading. The winner gets a drop pod hat, a Dunning polo of their choosing, and the golf course as well has some incentive here to share, to promote, to highlight their spot as well, because the winner gets a guaranteed visit from the Drop Podcast. And listen, I know a lot of people have invited us up to come to play. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if your team, your golf course ends up winning, the Drop Podcast will be present, playing and reviewing and filming some content while we're at it. So get those brackets in. You got maybe 24 hours, depending on when you're listening to this on Tuesday. March Madness coming in hot, bro. It is coming in hot.
I love it. Looking forward to seeing the results. Looking forward to discussing it. Going to be some great quality stuff.
Yep, here we go. So let's pivot a little bit here to the fast facts. We got to kind of recap a little bit of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Unfortunately, as we are recording, the final round is still in progress. And with their, weather delays, nighttime delay, whatever the delay ended up being, on Saturday. It's caused a later start here on Sunday, so we are not being able to recap the actual finishes. But at the moment, Chris Goddard is T7. Who knows what can happen here on Sunday? If, again, he does something crazy, you'll see something come out. Max is still Max is a little lost right now. I'll be the first one to admit it. It doesn't seem like he's got much mojo in the tank right now. He's currently T44. Maybe he can get a good final round in to jumpstart his Players Championship. But that's kind of the recap a little bit there, Pro. I don't know if you got much else to add about what you've seen so far at Bay Hill.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that are going to go out and finish Sunday morning. And we're going to see how that shapes out those last couple holes. And then the final pairings are going to be made. But, Goddard's in a good spot. And listen, does he have a strong enough round in him to climb all the way to the top of the leaderboard? Listen, this could be like the Waste Management, that he goes out and does something crazy, puts a low number up, and then we see kind of some people fall by the wayside late in that round. And you never know what could happen. He played so solid yesterday, except for one tee shot, on the 11th hole there where he drove it in the water and made a double bogey. So if that shot didn't happen, he'd be much closer to the lead there. But listen, I think if Chris goes out and plays a great final round, he's going to be looking at a possible top 5 finish in a signature event, which would be fantastic. And it would just probably maybe grow to take over the FedEx Cup rankings again. He's currently sitting in second behind Bridgman. So I could see maybe Chris take over the top spot going into the Players Championship. And then, like you said, Max, I mean, listen, cut made, there's no doubt, in a signature event. So, but he's not as sharp as we expected, to start the year. But we all know, there's a new baby in the house, maybe not getting much sleep. So he's trying to balance playing golf, being a father for the first time. And that's a tough task for sure. But nice to see him make the cut. And I think good things are on the horizon. But, Chris keeps playing some great golf. So looking forward to seeing how that shapes out.
Yeah, and then this week, listen, people have argued this week is the 5th major, and some people have said no, like Rory. But nonetheless, the Players is here. And I feel like this is when the season really jumpstarts, because it's mid-March here in New Jersey. We're finally almost, being able to actually tee it up. And then April posting season, and it's Augusta. So I feel like this is like the true start of the PGA Tour season in terms of, like, I know they label these signature events, but like this is the first real test. And they're out there, TPC Sawgrass, those final 3 holes, infamous. The 17th hole may be one of the most famous, if not the most famous par 3 in the world. Chris and Max are both in the field, and it's a loaded field, kind of at times self-proclaimed the best field in golf. It's going to be an exciting week out there at TPC Sawgrass, Pro.
Yeah, such an incredible event. So much turmoil could happen down the stretch, like you talked about. I mean, listen, 140-yard shot, if there was no pressure on the line, I think every person in the field would knock that thing right into the middle of the green, no problem. But on Sunday afternoon, when the adrenaline gets going, we saw last year on the Monday playoff when it was Rory versus JJ Spawn. And at that time, nobody really knew who JJ Spawn was, let's be honest. But he absolutely flushed that tee shot on 17. He just hit it too flushed, and it went over the back of the green. So that's where it doesn't take an awful golf shot to have a train wreck there on 17. You could absolutely flush one and fly it over the back of the green, and next thing you know, you're making a big number. So going to be really fun to watch it. And like you said, this really kicks it off. This is the first big one. So here we go.
Yeah, and as we kind of look down at the Corn Ferry Tour, down there in Chile, unfortunately, James Nicklaus did miss the cut, which is crazy when you think about what his first round was compared to what his second round was. John Pack currently sits T10. Their final round is still ongoing, so I don't have a final result for him. And unfortunately, Ryan McCormick did withdraw. I did shoot him a text to see if I could get a reason as to what was going on. I said, hopefully everything's okay. I did not hear back. So kind of a up and down, little start there for James Nicklaus. Like after he was leading after round 1, I sent you a text and I was like, here we go again. And then he just went the complete opposite way in round 2 and ended up missing the cut, which is kind of crazy. But I think that goes to the point that we've said time in and time out, like, golf is so hard.
So hard. You could have it going so well, and go out and be at the top of the leaderboard looking like a possible second victory. And listen, you just don't know. And James would obviously probably be able to tell us, but he could have been out on the range and all of a sudden the back's hurting or something like that. Something, you pull a muscle here or there and you go out and you make some high numbers and you put, a 77 on the board. But that is golf. We all know it happens, at every level. You could be a 10 handicap that one day here on a Saturday morning, you go out and shoot, 78, and then the next day you're shooting 95, and you're just like, how is it any different? So the game of golf is difficult, and every single day is a different story, no doubt.
Yeah, and as they kind of transition to this week, they're off. Now there's a stretch where they're coming back to the United States, so you'll see them back in action towards the end of the month. Now, as we transition here from the grandstand, I did take the week off because I knew of how much March Madness talk we had. So I did not take any questions from the audience this week. We'll get back at that next week. But I do think the weekly picks have been very interesting for you and I in a lot of ways where, you did go against your boy Shane Lowry last week and he kind of, crapped the bed down the stretch, and then you pivoted to Nico and Nico ended up winning. So it's kind of, fitting that we've been pretty accurate, which is kind of scary when you just look at like who we're randomly picking with not being able to duplicate any names in terms of the success that we've had. And where we stand right now is obviously the ball is still in the air out there at Bay Hill. And both our guys are sneakily right around each other. You got Cameron Young on my end, you got Ricky Fowler on your end, both playing very good golf. So to declare a winner yet is up in the TBD section, which we can come back to next week. But those two, I mean, listen, don't sleep on Cam Young, even maybe sneaking out a victory here.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he played the strongest third round. Yeah, yesterday it was incredible. I mean, he was so rock solid. I was sitting on the couch watching it in the afternoon, and he played so well. Ricky Fowler kind of was in neutral all day. He did make a birdie there on 16, but then he bogeyed 18 in pretty much in darkness. So he ended up shooting even par. But, going into it, the final round here, you do have a 3-shot lead right now, but we don't know how that's going to shake out. But when it comes to making the picks for the players, the way we're going to handle it is that because currently Cameron Young does have that 3-shot lead over Ricky Fowler, you are going to get the first pick in the players, because if we stopped it right now, you would get the victory and you would be 2-1 and I would be 1-2, but we don't know how that's going to shake out. So hopefully Ricky could play really well today. I don't want to wish anything bad on Cameron Young. Seems like such a great dude, was a great player for the U.S. Ryder Cup team. And like we talked about, right across the state line there in New York. So I hope Cameron Young has a really good day, but I hope Ricky has an incredible day and overtakes Cameron Young. But for the picks for the players, we're going to give you the nod and we're going to have you take that first pick.
Yeah, so I'll tell you this. I know I don't think you're going to like my selection at all. I don't. But when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this field, there's one thing that stands out to me, as I said about the players. I feel like it's the start of the real season. And there's only one guy that really steps up in the biggest tournaments. For whatever reason, I don't think he cares about anything else. But when the lights are on the biggest stage, he seems to shine. Now, I know his background at the players is not very good. Okay, I quickly pulled up some stats. His best appearance was he tied for 11th, right? That's the best he's ever done. And in his last appearance, he shot a second round 81. But nonetheless, I'm going with Brooks Koepka as my pick for the 2026 Players Championship. And I think when you're talking about a guy who's got a lot to prove, he's one of those guys, when those big tournaments come around, he just seems to get it. He played very well towards the back end of the Cognizant. He started to find his game. He made the comment that if he's looking to make cuts, he doesn't have it anymore. And then he came back in those last 2 rounds and he played really good golf. I think this is Brooks Koepka's coming out party for 2026, when we all start to see who Brooks really was before he went over to live.
Yeah, that is bold. If we were talking like 3-4 years ago, I could totally see that pick. And listen, like, I love the fight at the Cognizant. I love the fight that he showed to make the cut, and I loved how he played over the weekend. But, there is definitely some rust there. I still think he needs more competitive reps under his belt before he gets going. So in my personal opinion, this is like, you just gave me an uncontested layup. Like, somebody stole it at half court. I was, basket picking down on the other side. They tossed me the ball, and I have an uncontested layup that nobody is even around. Now, those have been missed before, but seldomly are they missed, So for me personally, I'm going to go with somebody that is a big name, has not been playing great, but he's having a good week this week at Bay Hill. He has good history in a young career at the Players. He has a top 10 finish, I think, in only 2 starts there. And I think it's going to be a good week for him, and I'm going to use him here at the Players. I'm going to go with Ludwig Oberg to come out on top over Brooks Koepka, and I think Ludwig's going to have a good week at the Players Championship.
Yeah, I love the analogy about the token layup, the pickpocket at half court, you in the basket. All I can say is you always got that 1 or 2 fans underneath that basket there yelling and screaming. You brick that layup, it's going to be a long round for you afterwards. But nonetheless, listen, I just feel like he's a big-time golfer. This is a big-time tournament. What a better coming out party for Brooks Koepka. And we're in Florida, his home state. He talks about how he came back because of his family. Listen, Brooks Koepka, let's get it done this week, baby. Instead of laying it up, let's slam it on the pro's head.
I like it.
All right.
I like it.
Well, listen, hopefully the nice thing is when our guys make it through the weekend, we still are in that limbo stage of what actually happened. So let's see if this continues as we move on here with our weekly picks. But listen, before we get out of here, I do want to throw this quick reminder out of our Tee to Green event, Saturday, March 21st. The field is starting to come together. We have, I think it's 7 or 8 spots left at the current time, which, I think it was 50%. And then I saw someone signed up last night. So I think the time is starting to get a little tighter. So if you're thinking about getting in, I think now may be the time. So go check that out. If you need the link, it's right there on Instagram. Just click sign up, you and your partner. Make sure you lock in one of those final spots that are available. But I think more importantly, listen, the race for the crown, it's here. March Madness is upon us. The brackets, everything is already live, more or less. The field of 64 is set. You heard the entire breakdown from the pro and I. But now the voting belongs to you guys. You get to decide who moves on. This is not this course is better, they're moving on, this ranking is high. Nope. You guys cast the votes, and round 1 begins tomorrow. I will say this, since it is a field of 64, we're going to have half the field on Wednesday voting and then the other half on Friday. So you'll have 2 opportunities. So if you don't see them all, it's probably coming out, the other day in terms of the following. So make sure you follow it. I will say this to all the golf courses. Listen, share it. I know the pro hit that hard last week that if you want your course to move on and you want to visit, like, this is twofold. Here's an opportunity for the Drop Podcast to come visit your spot. Your spot wins, we show up. So listen, I think this is going to be an unbelievable month leading into the season. And as I've said many, many times, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you're subscribed, leave a rating or review, and more importantly, share this show with somebody else who just simply loves golfing in the Garden State. And coming up Thursday, we've got another special episode. We're talking with the 2026 PGA of America Golf Professional of the Year and General Manager at Bally's Golf Links at Ferry Point. Brian Crowell is our guest. You talk leadership, public golf, growing in the game. Brian does it all. So, Pro, what a jam-packed episode. What a jam-packed week. What a jam-packed month. It is going to be an unbelievable month here for the Drop Podcast.
Yeah, like you highlighted, Mike, if you think your vote doesn't count, it counts. So take the time, fill out your bracket so you could obviously see how you do. But then more importantly, when the voting starts, cast your vote, take that time, make sure you click and make sure you follow, make sure you share it, do all those things, because the time is now. Your voice has to count, and let's get your votes out there. Let's make it happen. And let's see who advances to that round of 32. And I can't wait to highlight it.
Here we go. So until then, make it a great day, everyone.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. Thank you.
If you're serious about playing better golf this season, it starts with getting your body right in the off-season. That's where All Square Performance Chiropractic and Golf comes in. Led by Dr. Andrew Spear, who has over 10 years of experience and is a certified medical level 3 professional with the Titleist Performance Institute, All Square focuses on helping golfers feel better, move better, and ultimately play better. TPI research shows that physical limitations directly affect your golf swing, and Dr. Spear specializes in identifying exactly what your body needs, not a one-size-fits-all fix. Their Livingston facility is fully equipped with state-of-the-art chiropractic and fitness equipment, plus a TrackMan 4 simulator with swing catalyst pressure plates and slow motion cameras. Right now, Drop Pod listeners can take advantage of a complimentary TPI consultation, plus a special offer of 1 free month of indoor golf simulator rentals. Visit allsquarepcg.com or call 908-998-9194 or follow All Square PCG on Instagram. All Square Performance Chiropractic and Golf, helping you build a better swing from the ground up.